You know, what do they say in the military? You salute the rank, not the man, right? You recognize the rank. So similarly, I'm getting this garland, but really, it's because when you sit on this seat, back to Alex, what is this seat called? And why? What does asana mean? Asana, the asana means seat. So Vyasa asana means the seat of Vyasadeva. So when someone's sitting on this seat, they're honored. I mean, who am I? A bewildered, conditioned soul who lifetimes rotating in the material nature. But because I'm initiated in a bona fide sampradaya, and because I'm supposed to speak only what Vyasadeva, therefore you're once honored as the representative of Vyasadeva. So it's not me, it's the sitting on the seat and trying to represent Vyasadeva. Jaya Radho Madhava Kunda Vihari Jaya Radho Madhava Kunda Vihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivanadari Gopijana Vallabha Girivanadari Jasoranandana Brajajana Ranjana Jasoranandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuni Tiravanatari Jamuna Tiravanatari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Vihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivanadari Jasoranandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tiravanatari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Bo. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Rama, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Pari Vijakacharya Shisham, His Divine Grace Abhijit and Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki, ISKCON BBT Founder Chai Jagaguru Srila Prabhupada Ki, Ananda Guru Vaishnavinda Ki, Nam Chai Srila Haridas Thakur Ki, Prem Shri Gaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Dvaita Gadara Shiva Sari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki, Sheshi Radha Krishna Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki, Vrindavan Ki, Mithuvardham Ki, Dwarkadam Ki, Navribdam Ki, Jagannapuridam Ki, Jamuna Maya Ki, Ganga Maya Ki, Tulsi Maharani Ki, Bhakti Devi Ki, Samveda Bhakti Vinda Ki, Srila Prabhupada Ki, Siddhara Giridhara Ki, Shri Krishna Sankirtana Jaga Ki, Gopremanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the divine little sweet Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. So I wanted to say something just quickly about Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur before we start reading about Shyamananda Prabhu. Balaram gave that very nice class yesterday on the disappearance day of Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur. And the just two interesting things. One I heard from Tamal Krishna Maharaj, and the other I heard from Bhakti Charu Maharaj, who is still on a ventilator and not out of the woods. He's stabilized, but it's not. It's still critical, and they, so any prayers for Maharaj are much appreciated. So, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur was the district magistrate for the Puri area. And under the British Raj, when the British were controlling India, district magistrate was, I think, the highest post an Indian national could hold. It was a very powerful and respected position, and he was a district magistrate. And there was the British person who oversaw him was a Mr. Ravenshaw. And Prabhupada tells us, this is from Srila Prabhupada, it was a Mr. Ravenshaw. And Mr. Ravenshaw, the British, I think at one time there was only, even at its peak, there were only like 6,000 British officers in India running the whole, a country of millions. So, and Mr. Ravenshaw was, I remember when I first went to India in 1973, and we went into the Kadi Bhavan in Delhi, and it was tiffin hour, lunchtime, and everyone was asleep. Because it sells cloth, so they'd all made a nice little bed and cushion. I could have walked out of there with a cash box. Everyone was asleep. I mean, that's just the way India ran, And on one hand, it's a little more genteel than America's mad passion. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur would finish all of his court work. He'd be gone by noon, 1 o'clock. I think he came in at 8 or something like that. 4 or 5 hours, he was out. So Mr. Ravenshaw, who was overseeing the court system, said, well, what is this? He must be, because most people are working from 8 to 5 or whatever it is. And he must be taking a reduced load. He's not carrying his fair share of work. And so he checked with the clerks, and he found, well, actually he was doing more than any other, carrying more case loads and settling more cases than anyone else. And they thought, well, he must be doing shoddy work, right? Okay, fine, the quantity is there, but not the quality. And then, so Ravenshaw, doing his job, Mr. Ravenshaw, and he found that they were brilliant. Prabhupada said that he was no nonsense. The Bhaktivinoda was no nonsense. He'd hear both sides of the case and decide immediately, And his work was brilliant. So then Mr. Ravenshaw became curious. Why is this man, he's doing his volume of work, quality work, where does he go? Is he going home and sleeping? He had Indian Standard Time. He's going home and taking a long snooze. And he followed it home. And he found that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was writing and translating and doing all of his songbooks. So he was deeply absorbed in his bhajan and providing literature for, as Balaram was saying the other day, to show that Vaishnavism was the most noble of philosophies and practices, not just debauchees, professional beggars. Prabhupada says, I don't know what city Prabhupada was in, but Prabhupada said, and if you ever, you watch a city wake up. If you've ever been there, people are getting up and they're getting breakfast and they get the kids ready and they go to work, right? So Prabhupada said that he was in an apartment building and he was getting up and ready to do his business and he was watching everyone else getting up. And he could see out the window across the other apartment, and there was a man who was a beggar. And that was his profession. He was having his tea and reading the newspaper, and then he put on his beggar's uniform and he went out and begged. That was it, So they were thinking that Vaishnavas either professional beggars or debauchees. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was writing powerfully, establishing the exalted state of both Vaishnava philosophy and practice. And later on, Mr. Ravenshaw said, if there had been 5 more men of the caliber of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and if they had desired it, they could have pushed the British out of India. That's how much respect, that's how powerful Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was, and how much respect he had for him. So there was that side of him. And then I just wanted to mention, this I heard from Bhakticharu Maharaj, that we mentioned that he was in household life. In fact, his son, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, sometimes they would argue, father and son, brother and brothers, over something. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur would just say, oh, you're just a fallen householder. He would criticize him for being, and he was a staunch, out of affection and, just like that. So, so he stayed in household life. But at the end, and I don't know, and I should ask Bhakticharu Maharaj, by Krishna's grace, I'll have the chance. I'll ask Bhakticharu Maharaj whether it was weeks or days. I don't know. But he at the end of, the way he left his body, he went into what's called Kopa Samadhi. completely fixed in trance on the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. So much so that he was not eating, he was not moving, nothing. He was just fixed in trance. And there was a servant who would come in the evening and wrap him in a chadar. And then in the morning, and the sun started to warm up, take his chadar off. And then ultimately, he just stopped breathing. Like what they say in yoga practice, merging the ingoing with the outgoing breath. He just sat there. And then after some time, they realized, oh, he's left his body after some days, or I don't know how long, weeks, days. Thank you, Ram. So there it is. So these are great mystic souls, and they're real historic personalities. So we're going to read about Shyamananda Prabhu. I do have some pictures. Oh, actually, I remembered that I heard the Raven Shah from Prabhupada and the other one from Bhakti Maharaj. So I dropped out to Mokrishna Maharaj. Thank you for asking. So this is Shyamananda Pandit, Shyamananda Prabhu. Two paintings. This is a murti of him and then a painting of him. And this is also his shoes. And this is him arriving in Vrindavan. He was sent by his spiritual master to study under the Goswamis. And here he is in Vrindavan. And he took shelter. He was advised by his Hridaya Chaitanya, his spiritual master, to take shelter of Jiva Goswami. So here he is meeting Jiva Goswami. And we'll read later on, he had a special service of cleaning up the Sevakunj, sweeping up. And he found Radharani's bracelet. So here's a picture of him finding Radharani's bracelet. We'll read about that. And then here is a painting of him getting special tilak mark from Srimati Radharani in appreciation for his seva and returning her bracelet. And this last picture, there's two more pictures. This is his samadhi, where most people, the body is burned and then the ashes are put in the Ganga. But these great saints, their bodies are completely purified. Prabhupada said like this, because the electricity is running through it, it's surcharged. So the bodies of great Vaishnavas, they're surcharged with spiritual energy. Prabhupada coined the term Krishnized. Their bodies became Krishnized. Otherwise, Shruti Kirti Prabhu told me, and Shruti Kirti was Prabhupada's servant at several different times, his personal servant. And Shruti Kirti at the time was, I think, about 24 years old. His nickname in high school was the Italian Stallion. He was a linebacker in the football team. So he was a solid guy, energetic, strong. And after traveling for a year and a half, I think it was a year and a half, between a year and a half with Prabhupada. At the time, Prabhupada was late 70s. Yeah, 75 to 80 years old. Shruti Kirti collapsed. And in traveling with Prabhupada, he went to the doctor, and he couldn't go on. They had to find a replacement. He literally just was like as Giriraj Maharaj's example of the prana, all the toothpaste squeezed out of the toothpaste tube, all of his prana and he went to the doctor, and the doctor said, "You've had 2 bouts of malaria. We've done the blood study. You're recovering from jaundice, and basically you're just exhausted." And he said, "What have you been doing? Have you been training for a triathlon?" Shruti Kirti said, "No, actually, I'm just trying to keep up with my 75-year-old spiritual master." And how was it possible that Prabhupada could do this? Because he was complete. Different things conduct electricity or don't. Like, why do they insulate copper wire, electrical wire with rubber? Rubber doesn't conduct. A little bit, practically nil is wood. A little bit better is water. A little bit better is, what, steel or copper. I think now they have different fiber optics. And what is the greater degrees of current are able to flow through those different mediums, increasing degrees, based on what? There's an increase of currency flowing means decrease of something in the material. You can say Dravida. Resistance. Less resistance, more current. And because these great souls are completely surrendered to Krishna, they become Krishnized, surcharged with spiritual energy. I mean, even for us, how are we able to give up meat eating, drinking, get up and early? How is it possible? Because we're getting some mercy from Krishna. There's some surcharge there. So there's a picture of his samadhi, because the ordinary bodies are burned and the ashes are thrown in a sacred river, or no sacred river, thrown in the ocean. But a saintly person, because their body is completely purified, that was my point, they're buried. So here's a picture of samadhi, and this is the courtyard of the Radha Shyamasundar temple. You and I have been there, Mukunda. You've been there too, haven't you? Bala, yeah. And here's a picture, just to end with, this is a picture of Shyamananda Prabhu's deities, Radha Shyamasundar. And they're big. They're probably, about 5 feet tall, Ram? Something like that. They are absolutely gorgeous. And Radharani is, because she's Ashtatata, 8 metals, she really is Tapta Kanchana Gaurange. She's effulgent. So there they are. So that's a little, you can pass those around. And we'll read about Shyamananda Prabhu. And the source of this, there's several sources. There's the biography by Stephen Knapp. What is his name? Nandanandana? What is the initiated name? Have I got it? Okay, thank you. And also the biography by Satyaraj Prabhu, and Narottam Das Thakur's biography by Sitala, and the Samadhis book by Mahanidhi Swami, and Chaitanya Charitamrita and Srimad Bhagavatam. So I did some research, and that's what is the source of this. I've got to read with one eye here. Sri Shyamananda Prabhu, Srinivasacharya, and Srila Narottam Das Thakur were the eternal associates of Lord Gaurasundar. They incarnated in this world to spread the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu after his departure. So they were a transcendental threesome, and there's a lot of stories about them, but that's for another thing. But Shyamananda Prabhu appeared 1 year after the departure of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so about 500 plus years ago. Yeah? 525, something like that. Sri Shyamananda made his appearance in Utkala at the time, that's Orissa now, in the village. He's got his father's name. I'm just going to push on a little here. His father was descended in the line of the Sadgopas, the Gopals, had many sons and daughters who unfortunately passed away before the birth of this son. So all of the sons and daughters died. So he survived, and therefore they called him Dukkhiya, which means takes away suffering. Dukkhiya? Let's see. Anyway, everyone said this child, they called the astrologers and did all the calculations. This child would be a very great-souled, saintly person. On the full moon day of the month of Chaitra, he has taken his birth at a very auspicious moment by the mercy of Lord Jagannath, Orissa, Utkal, Jagannath. Lord Jagannath personally brought him here in order to propagate Lord Jagannath's teachings, and therefore Lord Jagannath is personally maintaining it. He looks just like a new Cupid. One's eyes and mind are soothed just to look at him. So that was the astrological prediction when the child was born. As time passed, scholars were astounded to see his profound intellect. Within a short period, he completed his studies of grammar, poetry, and rhetoric. When he heard the glories of Sri Gaura-Nityananda from the Vaishnavas in his village, a deep attachment to their lotus feet developed in him. His father himself was an very advanced devotee. Seeing that his son was always absorbed in thinking of Gaur Nitai, he told him that he should be initiated into the holy name. The boy replied, Sri Hridai Chaitanya is my guru. He is an Ambika Kalna. His guru is Gauridas Pandit. The two brothers, Gaur Nityananda, are eternally present in his house. If you give me permission, I will proceed there to become his disciple. So as a young boy, immediately he knew who his guru was, and he knew where he was, and he was ready to go. His father asked, but Dukiya, how will you get there? You're a young boy. He replied, Father, there are many people from here that go there to bathe in the Ganges. I will go with them. His father deliberated for a great while on this matter, and after doing so, he finally gave his permission. Thus, Dukiya set out for Gaudadesh. Gradually he came to Navadvip, then Shantipur, and finally Ambika Kalna, where he inquired from the local people where he might find the house of Gauridas Pandit. Outside the gate, he fell down, offered his dandavats, and Hridai Chaitanya, who happened to be passing by at this time, transcendental coincidence. Hridai Chaitanya, the person he went to take initiation from, looked at him for a few moments and then asked, Who are you? Dukiya replied, I have come to serve your lotus feet. Does anyone know the one question Prabhupada asked his spiritual master, other than Dravida, other than Vijay? What's for lunch? What was the one question he asked? How can I serve you? And also, a fortnight before Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur left, he again wrote, and what did he ask? How can I serve you? That's a bona fide disciple, Okay. So, Hridai Chaitanya was very pleased by this sweet speech. He told the boy, from now on your name is Krishnadas. Since early this morning, I was feeling that someone special would be coming to me today. Sri Krishnadas, that's his name now, Dukiya has become Sri Krishnadas, began his service with great devotion, and on an auspicious day, his guru initiated him into the holy name. Sri Hridai Chaitanya could see that his new disciple was extremely intelligent and at the same time very devoted. So he ordered him to go to Vrindavan to study the literature of the Goswamis under the tutelage of Srila Jiva Goswami. Krishnadas bowed his head in assent and on an auspicious day set out for the holy Dham. And there's a whole description of his travels and how he met so many different associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Finally, he entered Mathura Dham after taking his bath at Vishram Ghat. He took darshan of Sri Adikeshava and rolled in the ground in the dust at the birthplace of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. From there he proceeded towards Vrindavan, where, after learning the whereabouts of Srila Jiva Goswami, he offered his obeisances to the lotus feet of the great Acharya. After being asked, he introduced himself with full particulars. Srila Jiva Goswami was extremely happy to receive Duki Krishnadas into his care. Krishnadas was very carefully began serving Srila Jiva Goswami as well as studying the literature of the Goswamis. We're coming up to something quite mystical. Srinivasacharya and Narottam Das Thakur also came to Sri Jiva Goswami to study from there. So they were like Gurukula boys, buddies. They were there, Srinivasacharya, Narottam Das Thakur. Just imagine. Actually, Prabhupada said, even within I heard Prabhupada personally say this. You can go across the Jalangi to the house of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And Jagannath Das Babaji Goswami used to come there. Gaurkishore Das Babaji, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. They would all mix there sometimes and talk and chant. And Prabhupada said the atmosphere became so purified that trees that only grow in Vrindavan began to grow there. So, mystical place. Krishnadas requested Srila Jiva Goswami for a special service. Here we go into something mystical. Sri Jiva instructed him to sweep the forest grove of Seva Kunj every day. Seva Kunj is in Vrindavan. It's where the gopis, so many intimate pastimes of Madhurya Ras. Told him to sweep that grove every day. From that day, he began to carry out this service with great pleasure. He felt there was another similar pastime, and that Gopal Chand Goswami, one of the Goswamis at the Radha Damodar temple, he's passed away now. As a young boy, he one time heard, middle of the night, I don't know, 1 o'clock, something like that, someone crying in the patio of the Radha Damodar temple. Now you've got the Bhajan Kutir and the Samadhi of Rupa Goswami. And he looked out his window. It was a night with a nice moon. And there was Srila Prabhupada in the middle of the night, sweeping in front of Rupa Goswami's Samadhi and crying. So this crying for the mercy, crying to serve the acharyas, crying to please let me serve you and fulfill your mission. This is a very potent, what do you call it? It opens the channel for receiving mercy. This humble begging as a pauper. So here we see the same mood of Krishnadas. So where did I leave off? Okay, here it goes. He began to carry out this service with great pleasure. He felt that his life had become successful. As he swept, tears flowed from his eyes. Sometimes he would loudly chant the names of Sri Sri Radha Govinda, and sometimes he would become inert while remembering their pastimes. Sometimes he would put the broom, which was full of dust, on his head. And we can think, when we clean the temple room here, that dust, so many Vaishnavas are coming and walking here, and we get to sweep up that dust. If you want to secretly put a little pinch on your head, no one will chastise you. Because here it's described, sometimes he would become inert, remembering their pastimes. Sometimes he would put the broom, which was full of dust, on his head. Even Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva pray to receive a little of this dust of Vrindavan on their heads. The Lord of Vrindavan and his consort were very pleased with this service of Krishnadas and desired to grant him their darshan. One day, while Krishnadas was cleaning the kunj, his heart filled with love, he happened to notice a beautiful ankle bracelet lying in the dust. He picked it up, touched to his head, and then bound it in the corner of his upper cloth. He thought, I'll give it to whomever it belongs to when they come and look for it. Obviously, it's a priceless thing. They're going to come back looking for it. He'll wait till they'll ask. Because, if he says, I found this, who knows? You may not, So just wait and see who comes forward, because the proper owner will come to claim it. The next morning, the gopis were quite shocked when they noticed Srimati Radharani's left ankle bracelet was missing. So here's in another dimension this is going on, So they're looking at Radharani, what happened? Radharani explained, last night when I was dancing in the kunj, it must have fallen off. Please look for it and bring it back to me. Now we're back at the kunj. When the gopis came to search for the bracelet, Vishaka noticed Krishnadas sweeping the grove. She asked him, these things go on in Vrindavan. She asked him, have you found a bracelet here? Dukhi Krishna was so mesmerized by her sweet speech and radiant form, he simply stared at her, dumbfounded. Again she asked, have you found an ankle bracelet here? Dukhi Krishnadas made his obeisances and humbly replied, yes, I found it. And who are you? You're not just going to hand it over lightly. Vishaka said, I'm a cowherd boy. Where do you stay? He asked. I stay in a village near here. I'm sorry. Thank you very much, coward girl. Just making sure you're listening. Thank you, Prabhu. Sorry about that. Is this your ankle bracelet? No, it isn't mine. It belongs to a new bride in our house. She's keeping it secret. How did it get here? He's not just handing it over. She came here yesterday to pick flowers, and it must have fallen off then. All right, then please tell her that she can come and collect it from me. Let the owner collect it. No, you can just give it to me. No, I want to give it to her personally. After a few minutes, Vishaka returned to Srimati Radharani, who stood in the shade at the foot of a large tree. Vishaka called out to Krishnadas, Bhakti Krishnadas, the person who's lost her ankle bracelet has come to receive it. This is all, because they were pleased by his service. She's giving him the darshan. Dukhi Krishna had completely forgot himself while gazing, even though from a distance, at the unparalleled brilliant splendor of Sri Vishabhanu Nandini, the daughter of Vrishabhanu. In great joy, he handed the ankle bracelet to Vishaka. At this point, Dukhi Krishna could sense that something very profound was about to take place, as if it hadn't already. His eyes filled with tears, he fell down on the ground to offer his obeisances. In great ecstasy, he rolled in the dust at the lotus feet of Srimati Radharani. Vishaka then told him, O best of devotees, our Saki wants to give you a benediction to express her gratitude. Dukhi Krishnadas saw the holy waters of Radhakund before him. Prabhupada, it's like a lotus flower can open and close. Vrindavan can open and expand. Prabhupada said if Krishna wants to take a long time, going to Govardhan Hill, then Vrindavan will expand. And if he wants to get quickly, but there or back, so it is stretchable. It is a completely transcendental, it's Chintamani Dham, it's a transcendental abode. So all of a sudden, why not? It's other dimensions. These things are going on. Not everything is prosaic and two-dimensional and limited by time. Why? Dukhi Krishnadas saw the holy waters of Radhakund before him. After offering his obeisances, he's getting the darshan of Srimati Radharani. So first he wants to purify himself, and all of a sudden the Jamuna River appears, and he bathes in the Jamuna, just like people, we take a shower, clean clothes before you go on the altar. So, Dukhi Krishnadas saw the holy waters of Radhakund before him. After offering his obeisance, he immersed himself in her waters. Thus, he attained a transcendental, beautiful feminine form to mix with the gopis, just like what is it? Is it Narada Muni? When you come to Govardhan Hill, there's what is that kund? What is that? It's slipping my mind right there. The big kund built by the Maharaja Bhartpur. Anyway, and that's where Narada Muni performed us. Kusum Sarovar. Thank you very much. Kusum Sarovar. That's where Narada Muni performed. This is quite far beyond our pay grade, but just to know we're on the doorstep of these mystical things. So Narada Muni performed great austerities there, bathed in that kund, became a gopi, and was able to witness the Rasa dance. So here we have the same thing happening to Dukhi Krishna. Thus, after dipping in the Radha kund, he attained a transcendently beautiful feminine form. Coming out of the sacred kund, he stood before Vishaka and offered prayers. Taking this forest Saki by hand, this new member of the group, Vishaka approached Srimati Radharani, and the new Saki fell down at Radharani's lotus feet. Then Srimati Radharani decorated his forehead with tilak, using the ankle bracelet and kumkum from her lotus feet. So she marked his with some special tilak from this ankle bracelet and kumkum from his lotus feet, just to giving him a benediction on his forehead. This tilak will remain on your forehead. From today, you will be known as Shyamananda. The happiness of Radharani, Shyamananda. Now you can, Krishna can be either way. Now you can go. After she said this, Srimati Radharani Thakurini and all of her Sakis were no longer to be seen. Whoosh, they disappeared. Dukhi Das's trance broke, and he found himself as before, alone and in his male body. Well, was it all a dream? Was it a hallucination? Was he suffering from epilepsy? What is the proof? The tilak. He looks, and there's the tilak on his forehead. So it's proof. So where was I? Dukhi Krishna Das's trance broke, and he found himself as before, alone and in his male body, yet with the tilak applied by Srimati Radharani still on his forehead. Being overwhelmed with emotion, he repeated over and over, "What have I seen? What have I seen?" while tears of ecstasy rolled down his cheeks. After reciting prayers hundreds and hundreds of times to Sri Radhika, he finally returned to Srila Jiva Goswami. Sri Jiva Goswami was struck with wonder when he saw the brilliant new design of tilak on his young student's forehead. After offering his prostrate obeisances, Dukhi Krishna, his eyes brimming with tears, recounted at Jiva Goswami's request his experience at Seva Kunj. Hearing of his great fortune, Srila Jiva Goswami was elated, but cautioned Dukhi, "Don't reveal this blessed event to anyone. From today, just carry on with the name Shyamananda," because Radharani told him that's what he should be called. You know, if you go to Vrindavan, or sometimes they come to the West, and they'll advertise. Prabhupada's like a good shopkeeper. You've got to have something new in your window. We've got the brand new. So they'll come here and they'll say, "Oh, I'm hearing Krishna's flute," or "I've seen Radharani, and I can give you Madhurya Ras," and all this stuff. But actually, like a valuable jewel, you don't advertise it. You keep a valuable jewel. You keep it locked in your heart. You keep it safely stored. You don't promote it. You don't advertise it. I personally twice saw Prabhupada go into ecstasy. And I'll narrate one of them. What time is it? And then we'll just finish this pastime and be done. There's more, we'll read another day, finish about Shyamananda. But Prabhupada, this is 1970. I'm a bhakta, still trying to be a bhakta, in Los Angeles. And Prabhupada would come. He would from his morning walk, he would come and offer his obeisances. We had Jagannath and the small Radha Krishna deities. So he would come and offer his obeisances, take Charnamrita, come around, and sit on his Vyasasan. And when Prabhupada sat on his Vyasasan, we would all offer full dandavats. And, we're all bowing down, maybe, 40 people. And before we would come up, Prabhupada, he was teaching us Sri Upanishad. Instead of Bhagavatam class, he was teaching us he took a break there, from Bhagavatam class and was teaching us Sri Upanishad. And he would chant, Om Purnamada Purnamidam, and we would chant with him. But we would be offering obeisances, and Prabhupada's oceanic, timeless voice would roll out, Om Purnamada Purnamidam. So we were used to hearing that as we were coming up, and we'd all chime in. This particular day, no sound. No Om Purnamada Purnamidam. And we looked, and Prabhupada was sitting on the Vyasasana, just completely straight as an arrow. You know how Prabhupada would translate, cock his head back, and he was just looking at the deities. It was an intense, little Radha Krishna. We only had little Radha Krishna, Rukmini Dwarkanath. And we looked, and Prabhupada's cheeks were completely wet from tears. He was literally stunned in ecstasy. I don't know what the content of that ecstasy was, but simply looking at the deities, and he could not speak. And what did Srila Prabhupada do? After it seemed like a long time, but I'm sure it was just a few seconds, Prabhupada took a deep breath, and you could see he just pushed it down. Why? Because that ecstasy was getting in the way, rather than relishing it and advertising it and diving into it and falling off the Vyasasana and rolling on the floor. It was a disturbance to his service to his spiritual master. Krishna has sent these young boys and girls. It's his duty to train them. And this ecstasy, like Daruka, Krishna's servant, sometimes Daruka fanning Krishna goes into ecstasy. And how does he respond to that ecstasy? Anyone know from Nectar of Devotion? Yeah, because why? It gets in the way of his service. So, Prabhupada liked this Nikunja Rasa, that, some Shikshastikam. What is that? Not Shikshastikam, Guruvastikam. Nikunja Rasa. Yeah, Radhakela Siddhai. This making tasteful arrangements. What has that got to do with us? What has it got to do with our ISKCON spiritual masters? Actually, Ramaswar, to his credit, asked Prabhupada about this. And Prabhupada said, it is the mood of making tasteful arrangements, how to bring the conditioned souls, just like the Radharani is making arrangements for the gopis to be with Krishna, the gopis are making arrangements for Radharani. This is so far beyond our pay grade. But making arrangements to bring the conditioned souls to Krishna's lotus feet, that is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is an internal and an external, an esoteric and exoteric. Exoterically, externally, he's the Yuga avatar come to deliver the holy name, teach the holy name, the process of self-realization of the age. Internally, what is his esoteric reason for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance? Esoteric. I said yes. I meant to say yes. I said internal. Who is other than Dravida and Vijay? Who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? He's, Krishna, but not just Krishna. Why is he Gauranga? Ram. He's Radha and Krishna combined. He's Krishna come in the mood of Srimati Radharani, tinged by the Tapta Kanchana Gauranga. That's why Gauranga. So the point is that mood, this is the mood of the devotees. This is a higher not that I live in Vrindavan and, dress in a sari or shed tears of ecstasy and waiting to hear the flute. Forget it. That's not the process. And that's not the proof of that you've realized, that you've come to that plane. Proof that you're actually tasting that is when one is absorbed in how can I deliver the conditioned souls. How can I make arrangements for Krishna's movement, his society, his devotees? That's ecstasy. So we're having that reconfirmed here. And we'll just read this pastime. There's a few more things. Noticing that, the buzz on the street in Vrindavan, noticing that Dukhi Krishna Das' name and style of tilak had, for reasons unknown, been changed, the Vaishnavas naturally began to discuss this strange development amongst themselves. The news finally reached Hridaya Chaitanya Prabhu, that's the spiritual master, who initiated him, gave him the name Krishna Das. All of a sudden he's got a new name, and which means that, the relationship between a Shiksha and Diksha Guru, this is serious business. I remember saying, maybe I'll save this for later, we'll end here, but I remember saying to Niranjana Swami, he was sharing with me a letter, and this devotee had written, his disciple, "O Gurudev, you're the lotus of my life, you are this, you're the sun, you're the moon," all the perfunctory, what is the right word? All the perfumed praise. But then the disciple got down to business. I know you told me to not do this, but I'm going to do it. I know you told me to stay here, but I'm going there. I know you told me to do this, but I'm doing that. Please give me your blessings. So Niranjana Maharaj said to me, so what do I do with this letter? If I give my blessings that you do these things, he's going right off a cliff. It's all bad. It's not good. And if I don't tell him he can do it, then he's going to, violate my instruction. So, I let him do it and he goes off a cliff. I tell him he doesn't do it, So what do I do? And we got into a conversation and I was saying, I raised 2 kids as a single parent. And it was hard work. It was a lot. Let it be a lesson to you brahmacharis. It is hard work. It's a lot. I think the average child in America, and I'm looking at old figures, just to get them through high school is between $100,000 to $150,000 minimum. And that doesn't include the rent you pay. That doesn't, what to speak of college, that's just feeding them and keeping them from killing them, making sure they go to the dentist or whatever. And that's not if you're upper class. And you invest a lot. And so I was saying that, I said, I raised 2 kids, got them educated, got them married, occupied. I'm done. I've done my job. Couldn't you done? You give away a daughter to a good, a qualified daughter to a qualified husband, your obligation is done. I said, now I can take sannyas, which is what happened. And I said, but you, the ISKCON gurus, you've got them for life. They don't grow up and move out. You got to, you're responsible for them. So I said, I did my job. I put in my 20. I mean, I love my kids. I wish them well and all that. But, I've done my job. And Niranjana Swami said, I said, I'm done. You've got them for life. And he, if anyone knows the humble, sweet Niranjana Swami, he bowed his head and said, not for life, life after life. So we'll read this. We'll end here, but we'll read. Next time we'll pick up. But the relationship of a guru and disciple, either shiksha or diksha, and the weight of the thing and the importance. It's not to be taken like a fashion, It's not. Okay, we'll end there. All glories to Shyamananda Prabhu.